Foggy mornings, crowded paths, empty paths, ancient villages, and the final 100 kilometers. This stretch brought a new mix of sights and people. By the time we reached Sarria, we felt like we'd been walking forever, and also that we had only just begun. We had been walking for 40 days on our slower Camino. Rather than follow the long traditional stages from Sarria to Arzua, we spread the distance over shorter days and finished in Melide. Pilgrims who have been walking for a while often enter this section of the Camino with a little trepidation. Will the new surge of walkers change the experience? For us, there were moments of heavy crowds and moments where we had the trail entirely to ourselves. We enjoyed seeing the excitement of new pilgrims alongside the trail-weary pilgrims who had already walked hundreds of kilometers. Day 41, Sarria to Portomarin. Our walk from Sarria to Portomarin followed the traditional stage, and at nearly 14 miles, it was a long day for us. We left before sunrise, hoping to get ahead of the crowds. Well, that part didn't work out. Leaving Sarria, the Camino climbs briefly before opening into classic Galician farmland. That morning, the fog turned the fields into something almost dreamlike. One of the challenges of this section of the Camino is simply finding a cafe. So many pilgrims start in Sarria that the cafes filled up quickly. If we saw one that looked less crowded, we stopped, even if it wasn't quite time for a break. Just a few kilometers after Sarria, we reached the 100-kilometer marker, an exciting milestone, and amazingly, we were the only ones there. From there, the Camino winds through small villages and farmland until Portomarin appears on a hill across the river. After a long day of walking, the path drops steeply towards the Miño River. We cross the bridge and look down at the remains of a town beneath the water. This is the original Portomarin. In the 1950s, a dam was built and the rising reservoir slowly flooded the old village. Rather than lose everything, the people of Portomarin chose to save what mattered most. They dismantled their 12th century church stone by stone. Each stone was carefully numbered and carried uphill. Using those same numbered stones, they rebuilt the church above the water exactly as it had been before. The church you see today is not a replica. It's the original Church of San Nicholas moved to higher ground. You can still see the numbered stones. After the bridge, pilgrims traditionally enter Portomarin by climbing a long staircase. There's no rule that you must, but for many it feels like part of the ritual of arriving, one last climb before the end of the day. Day 42, Portomarin to Lestedo. The 20-kilometer or 12.4-mile walk from Portomarin to Lestedo takes us gently uphill most of the day. We woke to another foggy Galician morning and took an alternate route out of town, walking briefly along the highway before rejoining the Camino. In the tiny hamlet of Taxibo stands one of the largest hórreos in Galicia. An hórreo is a raised stone granary designed to keep grain dry and safe from rodents. Most served a single family, but this one was built for the whole community. It was still very foggy as we walked on. We found a quieter cafe in Castromaior and stopped for coffee. Just past Castromaior, a short walk off the Camino, is the Castro de Castromaior, an Iron Age hill fort more than 2,000 years old. We didn't stop this time, but we visited here in 2023. Its stone foundations once formed a fortified village of circular homes. The excavation has no barriers and is poorly signed. It sits to the left just before the road crossing. After Castromaior, the Camino continues climbing until the Alto de Ligonde, the highest point for these 3 days. The descent passes through eucalyptus forest, trees introduced to Galicia for timber but now a major part of the landscape. We stopped for some liquid refreshments and continued downhill. We reached our lodging in Lestedo, where we enjoyed some Spanish guitar music before a terrific steak dinner. Day 43, Lestedo to Melide. Our walk from Lestedo to Melide was mostly downhill and wonderfully peaceful. Staying off stage made a real difference. The innkeeper walked us out in the morning and told us about the chestnut tree as a symbol of the Camino, taking photos as we left. This was another of our favorite stays on the Camino. We walked through farmland and small villages in the early light. In Palas de Rey, we visited the Iglesia de San Tirso. A church has stood on this site since the 9th century, though the current building is more modern. Soon we were back on sunken trails, worn down by centuries of footsteps, farm carts, rain, and time. We stopped for a Napolitana near San Julian and visited the local church where the man stamping our credentials eagerly pointed out the 12th century floor and baptistry. In Liborio, we visited the Iglesia de Santa Maria, a 13th century church later rebuilt. It's known for a miracle associated with the Virgin Mary, who is depicted above the arched entrance. The church is only open in the summer, so in October we could only look in through the doorway. It's also known for one of its more expressive corbels. Romanesque art often included earthy human figures. Medieval stone carvers weren't just builders, they had a sense of humor too. The rest of the walk took us through light industrial areas, forest paths, and over another medieval bridge into Furlas, where we visited the Iglesia de San Juan. From there we walked into Melide, our home for the night. Melide is a larger town, famous for its pulpo a la gallega, boiled octopus, and home to Galicia's oldest stone crucifix. You'll find it next to the Capella de San Roque, right on the Camino. With just over 50 kilometers left to Santiago, our credentials were nearly full and the finish line finally felt close. These days gave us a bit of everything: fog, crowds, quiet trails, ancient villages, spicy architecture, and a reminder that the Camino changes, even when the road stays the same. In our next video, we walk the final 3 days of our Camino, and after 44 days of beautiful weather, we walk into Santiago in the rain.